All right, before I get started, which one do you like better? This one with the hat and the background are in gray, and this one, the hat and the background are in color. Which one pops off at you? I had a hard time. I click the links for Odysee and BitChute or to support the channel. Mainstream comics and mainstream entertainment are so far left now that even liberals don't want to read them. Comicsgate doesn't want purse puppy, breastless lesbians in literally everything. If you want that, she's got to have a tiny waist, huge jugs, and basically look like a D-cup Halle Berry. Mainstream comics and mainstream movies are starting to suck, like across the board. And if you're a crazy liberal, fine, go in peace and enjoy purse puppy, breastless lesbians. But every year that market gets smaller and more digital. If it's digital only, it usually sucks because it's not good enough for people to demand a physical product. If you're a commie nut job who hates everyone, there is no saving you. But if you're just a normie who's looking at what is happening in comics and in America as a whole... Oh, so this is about J. Scott Cambell throwing Comicsgate under the bus, and as Bancroft says, who's got a thing on the loose and on Indiegogo, says you're not gaining anything here. This doesn't, like, you're appealing to people who don't buy your product anyway, and you're losing people who do. That's insane. But whatever. Do as you will. So he says, no, it's because I've read what they stand for, Comicsgate. And while I can see why some might see a few overlaps, I strongly disagree with most of their views about women and inclusion. To me, this has nothing to do with drawing very sexy art. What are their views about women and inclusion? I don't know, because nobody ever says that. Okay, say that you're a normie who wants to make comics. Mainstream comics is like the NBA, but even gayer. You probably are not going to get into a rapidly shrinking industry. And why would you want to? Mainstream comics is a collection of really racist, sexist people, but they seem to hate Europeans, men, Christians, and straight people. Wouldn't you like to create stories where the antagonist isn't a white, blue-eyed, blonde male 90% of the time? Wouldn't you like to show what gangs or terrorists actually look like 95% of the time? Don't you want a place where you're not walking through a minefield? SJWs thrive on fear. They control people through fear and the threat of cancellation. The point of stories isn't inclusion, it's selling. Write what you know. Fair enough, if you're trans, write about that. But 95% of people or more are not. And the market definitely doesn't support it. Mags has got like 40,000 Twitter followers and can't sell anything because every story is essentially it being mad at its dad or some cliche from the 80s. I want a clubhouse that doesn't try to get a hate mob to cancel you if they disagree with you. And, fair enough, EVS did this himself with Mike and Doug TenNapel and maybe JDA. But a lot of us were quick to point it out. We don't want Comicsgate to be a recreation of the mainstream commie, anti-white trash fire. If you've got disagreements about petty bullshit, ignore it or go on with your life or just handle it privately. Comicsgate had some growing pains, but it is still light years ahead of the mainstream in terms of writing authentic stories and having fun. It's not perfect. Nobody is. And no, it doesn't focus on diversity and inclusion because that's propaganda. That isn't how good stories are created and marketed. That is a recipe for SJW failure. But diversity, no diversity. Write what you know. Write what can and will sell. Don't buy into Bolshevik talking points. We already are diverse. Every human is diverse from each other. Even if we are all Englishmen, we and our stories would be diverse because diversity is more than just skin deep. Comicsgate is so loose a collection. As a general rule, there are people who look at the mainstream anti-white cancer as developmentally disabled. And I don't want to see stories where every gang is a group of Englishmen with either blue or green eyes, because that is an absurdity. When gang activity, that's like 1% of gang activity, it becomes propaganda to see it every single... Go see Immortal Hulk 1 and 11. You'll lose your fucking mind. We also don't want an industry where you have a better chance of getting hired if you're not a Christian or a straight European male. Hiring should be based on moving product or even just working with who you like. But nobody is working with Kwanzaa because they like him. They're working with him because of the way he looks, not his talent, because he doesn't have any. Ta-Nehisi or Gail Simone are almost completely devoid of talent and ability to sell. They take well-known properties and destroy them. But you can't criticize them on social media because you'll be called an istaphobe. If you don't criticize bad writing, you're just going to get more bad writing. So Campbell threw comicsgate under the bus. Well, fuck him and his ass. He didn't gain anything by that, but he did lose a few customers. He made a comment about knowing what comicsgate thought about women, but he didn't say what it was, or who thought it, or who speaks for the group, who speaks for comicsgate. I personally love women very much. Do I get to speak for the group? If I hate the Irish, and I won't, better not say that on YouTube. Do I speak for the group? That is developmentally disabled. Comicsgate has changed a lot in 3 years. It has broadened out to include people from across the political spectrum. It is way more left than it was, but it will always gatekeep SJWs because they're godless parasites, because they're censors, and we can't have that. The biggest sellers in Comicsgate are EVS, Zach, and, depending on your definition, Doug TenNapel and Mike Miller. Do they slap women around or something? Because I am unaware. Is John Malin secretly a misogynist? The accusations against Comicsgate are asinine. You can find plenty of examples in the mainstream of SJWs acting like filthy degenerates or sending pictures of their assholes to people. Sexual abuse in the left wing, especially at conventions, is insane. But the rules don't apply to the SJWs because they control the industry. If you're a normie who just wants to sell your art, the mainstream won't have you unless it's woke. And woke won't sell. Comicsgate isn't going to sell you 1 million copies. You've still got to do it yourself. You've got to hustle and go on shows and do a lot of interviews and start a channel and get out there and join the network. But Comicsgate is the field upon which you can play. Normies have no place to go except Comicsgate. It's like the power balance has been shifting over the past 3 years. And yeah, Comicsgate is still small, but Comicsgate is growing and the mainstream is shrinking. That's usually what you want to look at. Yeah, you could form your own network, but it would turn out to be almost exactly the same as Comicsgate. The SJWs labeled Comicsgate don't play according to their narrative. Say you're a normie and you want to write comics. So the SJWs say, "Oh, you should go work for them." The 4 big companies. Well, yeah, I tried, and they didn't want my stuff. Oh, so I'm gonna join Comicsgate? No, you can't because they're Nazis. Well, okay, I can start my own network, and it's gonna be like people who didn't get hired by the mainstream. And no SJWs because we don't want people telling us what to do. Oh, well, you're Nazis. So you're saying I literally can't work in this industry unless I do exactly what you say. Someone who, 1, doesn't buy the product, and 2, like, some of these people do commissions open. They draw their art. It's like just dog shit you do when you're 12. And I mean, some of it's talented, but even if it's talented, it's like everything is black, trans, breastless lesbians. Well, this is about, you got to pay rent, you got to pay your mortgage, and you got to buy, listen, if you got a racing motorcycle you race on weekends, those tires don't buy themselves. You go through a lot of tires as you race, or whatever you're into. I'm not into racing motorcycles, but I know some guy who is. I'm into dog walking. I need dog booties or something, and I don't know, whatever. You know what I'm saying? It is like, this is the real world. Gotta give a lot of bad examples. This is the real world. Yeah, dog walking is like my number 1 enjoying hobby. You gotta pay for things, and you gotta sell people what they want. And like, I don't think a lot of these SJWs are actually selling people what they want. I think they're pandering. Oh God, I love Cecil. Oh God, I love you. You fruitcake. They're giving people like what they think people want for the dopamine hits, but that dopamine doesn't transition into sales. Like, that's if you get money on the internet, man, because a few people have donated to me, it's like you are really doing something. And if you can sell your art for something, this is actually, I mean, the composition is well done. You may not like the subject matter, but this is I don't know who did this, very well done. You can sell something, man. You're doing what 99% of the people can't do. And if you're selling your art, it's amazing. Comicsgate is that place for you. There's going to be jerk-offs in Comicsgate of all across the spectrum, because they're jerk-offs in life. But, like, okay, a lot of people, it's like Vox Day as an example. A lot of people don't like Vox Day. A lot of people do. I don't care if he sells a product that people want to buy. Let's talk to him. It's just as simple as that. If Gail Simone is selling something and she wanted to, oh, hey, Gail Simone calls me up and says, hey, I want to do an interview. Or calls up somebody with a bigger channel. I'd be like, oh, okay, fine. All right. I want to sell my comic. I'm Mags Versace wants to come on and sell the product. Okay, fine. Like, no, there's no secret dunking on Mags. If she wanted to do an interview, I think most people would be like, okay, come on the show, let's talk about your thing. It's like, you're not going to lie to them and say, oh, Kim and Kim is the best thing I've ever seen, because it's not. It's like, it seems like you're mad at your dad. You got to get over that. You're going to have honest conversations, but I don't want to cancel anybody if they're even if they're an SCW. It's like they want to come on and they want to push some product. Like, well, the audience probably is not going to be receptive to it, but fine, we can talk about it. I mean, it's like we'll take an hour to talk about something. It's like we'll see how it goes. Like, people are going to rip you in the comments, but that's life. It's like everyone's got to harden up a little bit and get some thinner skin. You're not criticizing a woman doesn't mean you're attacking a historically marginalized and oppressed, systemically discriminated against, systematic. It's just Marxist bullshit. It's just Leon Trotsky's bullshit from 100 years ago. That's a way you raise a shield, so you hide behind that shield and produce really shitty writing. It doesn't sell. Anyway, I got a little bit off track here. The point is, God, you do those eyes really well. There's a ton of comments from Comicsgate responding to Campbell's. They're pushing back gently on Campbell. Like, you didn't need to throw Comicsgate under the bus. You didn't need to say they don't like women or they're not inclusive. Because, well, inclusion, just sell what sells, make what sells. Inclusion and diversity is not a part of it, which I know people hear that and they just lose their fucking minds. No, just write what sells. Write your story. Write what you know. If you're whatever you are, if you're a black guy, write black characters because you know them. Write what you know. Like, I write what I know. My circle of friends happens to be organically, this part of California, it's very diverse. That's organic. It is what it is. Write what you know. I know that organic diversity. It's natural. So it comes across natural. But, like, Mark Wade writes this stuff, and it comes across as fucking dog shit because of who he is. He's a fucking idiot who probably... Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, guys. I'll see you all next episode.